Welcome back, Tigers! This is the next video in our Einstein Next Best Action series. We will explore how to set up on-the-fly recommendations in Einstein Next Best Action. These types of recommendations are useful when you need to dynamically generate a set of recommendations based on a list of records. They also allow you to dynamically set the button labels and recommendation descriptions based on the data from the list of records you have queried. Let's hop over to Salesforce and see how to set up on-the-fly recommendations for your users. Here is an example of an opportunity that is showing you two predefined recommendations that we configured in a previous Einstein Next Best Action video. In this video, we're going to show you how to generate on-the-fly recommendations to show a user two options to add products that aren't currently on the opportunity. We want to recommend that the user upsell the prospect to add consulting or support services if the op doesn't currently contain one of those products. We have a list of products over here, and the product family identifies what type of product it is. And if the opportunity does not contain a product with the product family of consulting or a product family of support services, we want to surface a recommendation for the user to add one of these products. Okay, our first step is to create our two screen flows that are going to be the actions that the user will invoke from Next Best Action. We're going to go to Setup and then Flows. We'll create a new flow and it will be a screen flow. We're going to do a get on our opportunity. And our ID is going to be the variable record ID. So this is going to hold the ID of the record where the action is launched from. And then we're going to do a get on the price book entry record. We're going to look for the price book ID to be the same as the price book ID that's assigned to the opportunity. And then we're going to filter for the products that have a product family of support services. You can see here that we don't have a product family field to choose from. So we're going to go to the price book entry object and we're going to create a formula field that will allow us to filter on the product family. Now we will save our flow and we're going to refresh. Now we'll go back into our get and we should be able to filter on our product family. And we want this to show all records. Next, we're going to create a screen. I'm going to hide the header and hide the pause in previous buttons. I'm going to add a data table. And then this is going to show all of the price book entry records that have a product family of support services. We're going to configure the columns that we want to show. We want to show the product name. And we're going to add a custom label here. We can add the description. And we can see that we don't have the description available to us to show as a column, so we'll need to create a formula field for that. And then we also want to show the price. We will save this, and then we're going to create our formula field to show the product description. Now we'll come back to our flow and refresh. Okay, now we need to add our description to our data table. We're going to move that into be the second position. And now we need to create an op product record from the price book entry record that the user selects. Our opportunity ID is going to be the record ID. The price book entry ID is going to be the ID of the record that we selected in the data table. Our quantity will be 1. And then the price is going to be the price of the price book entry record. Now we need to give them a success screen. I'm going to hide the header. I'm going to hide the pause and the previous buttons. And then I'm going to display a success message. All right, I'll save this. And then let's do a debug and make sure that everything's working. I'm going to select the Silver Premium Support here. And then it says that my product was successfully added to my opportunity. So let's just go check over here. And I can see that it was successfully added. So this flow is working perfectly. Now we're going to clone this flow and we're going to make it work for the consulting product. Now I know you may be thinking, why can't we just use the same screen flow and just use the decision element? And the reason is because we can't pass the recommendation ID in Einstein Next Best Action. That's not something that's supported that I've found right now. So we have to create a screen flow for every single action that we are putting into Einstein Next Best Action. Hopefully that's going to be a feature here soon. So I'm just going to do a new flow. I'm going to save this. And then the only change we need to make this work is we just need to change the product family to look for consulting. And we'll activate this and that's ready to go. Now our next step is to go to our recommendation strategy that we created in the previous video. We're going to add our on-the-fly recommendations to this recommendation strategy. All right, so our first step here is to check to see if our opportunity contains any of the support services or consulting products. So we're going to do a get here. And we're going to pull all of the opportunity products. And then we're going to filter. We'll filter the, oh, we can't filter because I didn't set it up right. We have to make this say all records. There we go. Now we can see here that I cannot filter for product family on the product record. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the price book entry. I'm going to create a formula field on the product object that will allow me to filter for those records. I'm going to cancel here. I'll do a save as, and then I'll refresh my flow. We're getting an error here because we started to create our collection filter and we didn't finish it. Okay, we'll refresh now. Then I'll add my filter again. And there's my product family. Okay, then I'll do another filter and I'll filter for the consulting product. Save that. Our next step is to check if our collections for our consulting and our support services have any records. So we're going to assign a count for each of those filtered collections. I'm going to create two variables that are going to hold the number of products for each support services or consulting product category. So this will equal the count of our filtered collection for our product. And we'll do the same thing for our consulting product. Okay, then I will connect this element to here. And then I'll save this. I need to add a get to get the opportunities price book ID. And then I'm going to do a decision element here to see if there are any consulting products that already exist on the opportunity. So I'll check my variable that's counting my consulting products. And if this is greater than or equal to 1, then it's a yes. If not, then it's a no. So if there are no consulting products, then I want to get a list of the consulting products for the user to choose from. So I'm going to look for the Pricebook entry records that have the same Pricebook entry ID as my opportunity. And then I want the product family to be consulting. And then I want to get all of those records. The next thing we're going to do is sort our Get Consulting Products collection. So we only want to show 2 of these products. We're going to sort by unit price, and we're going to show the most expensive ones first. The reason why we only want to filter for 2 products is because we only have 4 places within Einstein Next Best Action, and we don't want to take it up with all of our product recommendations if we have other recommendations that are more important than this one. Our next step is to create a recommendation assignment element. This is going to loop through all of our Pricebook entry records for our consulting product family. And then here's where we specify all of the field values that are part of the recommendation record. So this is why it's called on the fly, because we're able to specify this as the user is interacting with the actions that are surfaced in the next best action section. So our acceptance label is going to be select a consulting service. That's the name of the button that the user will click. Our action reference is going to be the API name of the screen flow or the auto launched flow that the user is going to interact with. And then our description is going to be a formula. Now I'm going to finish this after I save my recommendation assignment element because I can't reference the product name just yet because I have to save the element first. Then the name and the recommendation key are automatically populated for you. The rejection label, I'm just going to put anything in here because we're not using this part of the flow. Now we have an image that we want to specify in here. And here you have 2 choices. You can hard code the ID in here, or you can use a custom metadata type. So I'm going to actually upload the asset file. All right, so let's go ahead and go over to our asset files. Come to my library, my asset library, and then I'm going to upload the 2 images that we're going to use in our on-the-fly recommendations. I'll check both of these boxes. Click Save. Now what we have to do is we have to get the content asset ID for this record. Now you need to use the developer console to get that information. We're going to go to Setup, Developer Console, and then I'll provide you with this query that you're going to run. You're going to do a select ID, content asset ID, and title from ContentDocument, where the ID equals, well, you'll click on the name of the asset file that you just uploaded. You'll click View File Details. This is your content document ID. And then you'll go back to your developer console. You'll paste the ID in here. Then you'll click execute, and then this is the ID that you need right here to put into your flow. I know. So we'll paste that right there.
Are you kidding me? Blue Tiger Academy Police, you're under arrest for hard-coding IDs into Salesforce. Do you know what's gonna happen when you deploy this to production? Your ID for your content asset is gonna change. And then if you have an update that you need to make from your sandbox and it hasn't been refreshed yet, you're gonna override the production ID with the sandbox ID post-deployment. And then you're gonna spend an hour troubleshooting what's wrong.
We're going to use custom metadata types to store our IDs, and then we will query that setting in our flow. We'll go over to Home, and then we'll go to Custom Metadata Types. You'll click New, and then this will be called Einstein NBA on the fly setting. And then we'll give it a nice description. This CMT stores the ID that is used in the recommendation strategy to set the images for on-the-fly recommendations. You will click Save, and then we need to create one custom field. This will be a text field. It'll be called ContentAssetId. It'll have 18 characters. And you'll click Save there. Now we need to add 2 records, so we'll go to Manage Einstein NBA on the fly settings, click New, and then our first one is going to be the product recommendation for consulting, and then we need to put in the content asset ID in here. We will copy it from here, paste it in there, and click Save. Now we're going to come to our flow, and we're going to do a get records here. And then we can't find it, so we'll refresh. Okay, you'll do your get records here. There we go. There's our setting. And we want to look for the developer name to be Product Recommendation Consulting. We'll get Einstein NBA setting. Okay, and then we'll come to our recommendation assignment, and instead of the ID in here, we're going to go to our get records, and we will pull in the content asset ID. So now when you deploy this to production, you're going to come into your custom metadata type, you'll go to manage records, and you will edit this setting to have the production ID. So now when you deploy any updates from your sandbox to production, you're not going to overwrite the production ID with the sandbox ID, and you won't have any issues. And that should pull the image into your flow. Now let's go back to our description, and let's add in the last part of this. So we want to pull from the upsell recommendations consulting current item that it's looping through, and then we're going to pull the product name. Click done there. Our last step is to add this to our output recommendations collection. Going to add the recommendations from our upsell recommendations consulting. Okay, we'll save this. And now I want to test this before I copy everything that I did for the support services products. I'm going to go ahead and activate this, and then I'm going to go to an opportunity that does not have a consulting product. I'm going to see if this is working. Oh, yay, it is. So I am on an opportunity that has premium support, but it doesn't have any consulting services. So I can see that this is saying the Adams family could benefit from using our marketing strategy development service. This one is showing this SEO consulting service. And then if I click this button, it shows me all of these support services that are available to choose from. And if I choose the SEO consulting, let's make sure that this works. It says that it was added to the op. Let's refresh our whole page here. And then we can see that, yep, that product was added to the opportunity. And then we no longer see any recommendations for our consulting products. So this is working perfectly. Now we're going to clone everything for our support services products. Okay, so now we'll want to clone everything for our support services product. So we're going to go do this here really fast. Okay, now we need to do a couple of things. One thing I noticed while debugging was I put the wrong ID in here. So you need to make sure that this content asset ID is not the 069 ID. It needs to be the 03 number. So let me get that, copy that, because if that ID is wrong, your element will not load at all. Okay, now for our support services, we don't want to hard code the ID here either. So we are going to add another record to our existing Einstein NBA on the fly settings. You'll just click new here and we'll call it product recommendation support service. And then you will copy and paste the ID into there. You'll click save. And then the same thing that you did on the consulting services side, you'll do here. So you'll do a get. And you'll look for the developer name equal to this. And then you will update your recommendation assignment. So we'll pull over the ID that is in the support services setting. And that's it. You're all set. You have successfully not hard-coded any IDs. You'll stay out of Blue Tiger Academy jail now. And then I also need to connect this down to my decision element. Right to there. Okay, save that. And then let's activate and let's run a test. Okay, while testing, I wanted to show you a couple of things that I ran into. Number one, I had a problem with my description here, so I was debugging that. I was referencing the old description. I had removed my image ID here to try and debug further because my image ID could be throwing an error for some reason or another, but that was fine. What it ended up being was my flow that I'm referencing here was not active. So I need to come and activate my flow. Make sure you don't do that. It's very easy to do. So we'll activate this. All right, let's refresh this. Oh, yay, hallelujah. So now we have successfully created our on-the-fly recommendations. We have our support services showing. Now let's go ahead and select a support service and make sure that this product is added to the opportunity. I'll select this Silver Premium Support here. It says it has been added. Let's make sure. I'll refresh the screen. And we can see that we have our support service added and our recommendations are no longer showing. So good luck with your on-the-fly recommendations. That's it. That's a wrap. Be sure to subscribe to Blue Tiger Academy so you don't miss out on the next video we are working on that will show you how to review usage metrics for Einstein Next Best Action. You will learn how to report on which recommendations people are using the most and which users are invoking them. Let us know in the comments below if you have any questions or if you would like to see a video on a different Salesforce topic. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.